But as you can see, I cannot hide it. I still am prone to old-fashioned dress. I still enjoy wearing breeches. Very comfortable in breeches, particularly in the saddle. Easy to put on and take off your boots. And, well, gentlemen, will we ever forget when we received our first pair of breeches? 7 years of age, we thought we had become a man overnight to wear breeches like our fathers and to no longer have to suffer wearing dresses like our sisters. Remember, yes, young boys wore dresses through 6 years of age. I beg your pardon. I am more prone to somewhat stray from my point and purpose in delightful conversation as I become a bit older, and yet I do it with a particular point in mind. Perhaps you think I've lost my mind then to discourse upon fashion and style. Oh, no more than any of us. Have you ever thought to yourselves how we preoccupy our conversation with fashion and style? Even in the worst of times we do, and thereby I do not deny it. No, it delights us, it engages us, provides us some energy. I've often said, perhaps you've read, when it comes to fashion, swim with the current. But I hope you've read as well that I frequently say, when it comes to principle, stand like a rock. And that we have these last 31 years of the existence of the United States of America. Is it not remarkable we have lasted so long? Well, many thought we would not, particularly our old enemy, England. But think to yourselves that we are now seeing, and have been these last several years and these few years to come, the birth of the third generation of American citizens, those who are being born of those who were born when our revolution began. Those who were born then of our Revolutionary War families, our Revolutionary War soldiers. Imagine we are now seeing the birth of the grandchildren of our Revolutionary War soldiers. It does provoke us to wonder, what world will they see in the next 31 years? In fact, if you would allow it to double that, what world would they see in the next 62 years? The year 1869. Well, I hope we understand. That depends upon whom? You. Thank you, sir. Boldly announced. Yes, it depends upon you. Not upon me. I am here but temporarily. There have been a few before me, and every day I hope and I pray there will be many, many others after me, all receiving your approbation. The trust, the honorarium that you provide them to represent you honestly and directly. And I hope you understand that emanates from an honest, moral, and virtuous people. That is the element, that is the essence of self-government, that it begins with the individual. Aristotle said millennium ago that if an individual is incapable of governing himself, then what makes him capable of governing others? Oh, I've said many times, have we found angels in the forms of kings to govern man? Well, let history answer this question. And let it indeed be exemplified by us, the American citizenry. Oh, Cicero made statement that should we discover anyone in office to be dishonest, immoral, corrupt, well, will it not be so in any walk of life? And if you tolerate it there, well, then you will surely elect it to office. Oh, no, citizens, I can assure you I am dedicated to our future. I am dedicated to a great trust and faith in my fellow man. The recognition of the essential principle over which we fought our American Revolution, that government is the servant of the people, not the master. It governs through your consent, and your consent alone, freely given and freely renewed. I wish to share with you one particular experience upon the road before I would delight the more so to hear your questions and concerns. Yes, and I honestly share this with you, for I have always believed that the true art in government is simply in being honest. I arrived at an ordinary, several days eastwards from your vicinage. An ordinary, as you know, different from an inn or a tavern, serving ordinary fare, in which one has no choice, so I was delighted simply to be refreshed. And as I entered the building, I saw but one other visitor there, a young lad, deeply engaged in reading a book. Well, I approached his table and asked if I might be seated. And he did welcome me to the table, and I thereby had to immediately inquire out of simple curiosity, I dare say, lad, What book intrigues you so? You seem so much engaged. He said, oh, well, sir, it is a volume of Cicero. Oh, well, I knew then he had the privilege of an education. I was so privileged that my family had the means to be able to send me, the eldest son in a family of 10 children, to first a Latin school and an English school, and finally to the old Royal College of their former Majesties, King William and Queen Mary in Williamsburg. I said, lad, do you know the great wisdom of Cicero in reference to the teachings of history? Oh, he said, indeed I do, sir, and so he quoted me directly in Latin. Well, I was the more taken with his recitation, in which he pronounced boldly that Cicero said thousands of years ago about the history, 1,000 years before his day, that a people must never forget their history. Well, simply we would recognize it is but common sense, as the individual would not want to forget their own personal history, so they may not make the same mistakes they made in their past. Cicero said it is incumbent upon a citizenry never to forget their history, for he said if they do, they will remain children all their lives, ready to be led rather than to lead themselves. Well, I think then he felt he had the further freedom to question me. And so he asked me, sir, were you familiar with the American Revolution? I said, yes, somewhat. He said, well, did you see any action? Did you wear a sword? I said, yes. Yes, indeed, I was colonel of the Virginia militia, particularly for Albemarle County in that old colony and new Commonwealth. Oh, well, sir, did you lead any attack? No, lad. I led a retreat. Oh, as governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, I did not tell him so. But I had to lead a retreat, to remove our government firstly from Williamsburg, to be the better defended on the heights of Richmond, and then from there in the advance of General Benedict Arnold, and later General Charles Lord Cornwallis, to remove our capital first to Charlottesville, later to Stanton. And then, beset with the cares of office, I resigned that office, that it might be in the hands of a more capable Chief Magistrate, General Nelson. Well, then I thought, before he were to inquire any further into my private life, that I might suggest another question to him. And so I said, lad, tell me, what ocracy do you think is the great foundation of the success of these United States these last 31 years? Of course, I thought that he would reply, democracy, absolutely. But do you know, I rarely use the word democracy. And thereby I was going to explain to him, oh, sir, no, indeed, a democratic government, that is a pure democracy, as the ancient Greeks knew, where all of the citizens might leave their families and farms and come together to argue their differences of opinion, I do not believe that is practicable in this modern world. Oh, rest assured, the past was not less intelligent than we are today. No, they had good common sense. They realized that as we are created different in face and form, so are we created different in mind. That the ancient Greeks welcomed a difference of opinion, welcomed the energy it provided. In fact, as we know, I hope, Solon, the ancient Athenian king, imposed a fine upon any Athenian citizen who did not offer his opinion in a time of controversy. I was about to tell him the success of republican government, where a people may remain with their families, on their farms, at their places of business, elect their government, and at the same time proceed to oversee their government in proper management. But do you know, before I could even conjure up my answer efficiently for him, he did not hesitate a moment to say, oh, sir, we are a hypocrisy. I was delighted. I was overwhelmed. I was immediately engaged to recognize that here I was holding a discourse with our future, with a citizen of the United States who had the advantage of an education and who was going to proceed then to offer his opinion based upon fact and scholarship, I hoped. And so I said, lad, why do you say hypocrisy? I'm quite curious indeed. May we engage a discourse upon it? He said, oh, yes, gladly so, sir. Our President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, there you are, the greatest hypocrite of all. I said, yes, I've heard that.